Hey y'all, it's Day or De La Soul. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and cut the notification bells on because I got some good stuff coming. If you are familiar with my channel, welcome back. And I'm gonna go ahead and get right into this video. We are gonna be talking about porosity today. I still get a lot of questions about, well, not even so much about porosity itself, but how to figure out your porosity. So I'm going to tell you guys how to figure out your porosity without doing any of those water tests, pulling out pieces of your hair, playing in your hairbrush. I'm gonna tell you guys by the end of this video, you're gonna know what your porosity is. Okay, before I get started, I apologize in advance if you guys can hear the kids outside playing. It is Memorial Day weekend and people are not social distancing. As y'all can see, I'm in the house. I'm social distancing. But people outside ain't social distancing. Let's talk about what porosity is. Porosity is basically your hair's ability to absorb moisture, and your porosity is determined based off how your cuticles lay against your hair. So there are three types of porosity. You have high, medium, and low. Well, people say medium, normal. Those are interchangeable. So high, normal, and low. So you have like your hair strand, and like imagine like, I'll try to find a visual for this, but imagine like just like a cylinder going up and down like this, just up and down. And then with your cuticles, they kind of lay on it like leaves coming off. Like they're literally like, this is the cuticle, they'll like fan off like this. If your cuticles are tightly shut, then you are low porosity, and what that means is your hair does not absorb moisture as well. It's low porous. It does not absorb moisture well. When you're high porosity, that means those cuticles are open. They're fanned out like this. So low porosity would be like this. They're not really, they're just shut. Because those cuticles are tight shut, your hair kind of repels moisture. It's hard to get that moisture inside of your hair. And then high porosity, that is when your cuticles are open. And basically what that means is your hair absorbs moisture well because those cuticles are open, but the fact that they're open means that moisture escapes really quickly. So that's high porosity. Normal porosity just means that you absorb it well and retain it well. Because a lot of people don't mention normal porosity and medium porosity in their videos, but that's because like it's easy for them to absorb moisture. They don't really struggle as far as trying to figure out how to obtain and maintain moisture. So I'm gonna give you guys 5 questions, and by the time you answer these 5 questions, you will know what your porosity is. Probably the easiest way, and what everybody probably is gonna click the easiest to figure out what your porosity is. Think about your hair when you go and you get ready to wash it. When you're either washing it in the sink or in the shower. Does it take a few minutes, or it takes time? Like you actually have to let that water just run on top of your hair to absorb it? Or does your hair immediately soak up water? So what does your hair do when you wet it? Does it kind of repel? Like you get those little like beads over it? Or on the other hand, does it just sop it right up? Your hair gets saturated and weighed down, like you can see it just like drop. Does it do that? If your hair kind of repels water, or it takes a long time to absorb the water, then you are probably low porosity, because that means your cuticles were shut and you had to kind of run that water over it, that hot water basically, to get those cuticles to lift up, and so your hair could start actually absorbing that water. If your hair immediately like saturates and takes in the water, that means that you are high porosity, because your cuticles are open, it just gulped that water right up. So that's question number 1. And you guys might want to get some pen and paper so you can kind of I guess like write which one that you are for each question, because of course nobody's hair is identical. So maybe in this question you identified as low porosity, and that next question you might identify as high. But I think, you know, whatever you get the majority of your answers are, that is your porosity. If you're smack dab in the middle, then you're probably normal to medium. But anyway, let's move on to question number 2. Okay, question number 2. Let's think about when we are applying our products, like our leave-ins, conditioners, and stylers. Does your hair tend to just let the product just sit on top of it? Your hair kind of feels stiff, even though after you style it or after a few minutes when you go back and touch it, it feels really like soft and moisturized. Does it just sit on top of your hair? Or on the other hand, does it immediately sop up products? When you put something on your hair just sops it up. You don't have that white residue on it. You don't get a lot of flaking. You don't have any of those issues. If your hair takes a while to absorb products, that is low porosity. And what happens is, why you see, like, you'll even see with me, like sometimes when I apply products, especially when I haven't like done a deep cleanse on my hair, you guys will see product just kind of sits on top of my hair and it looks like I applied so much product, but what's happening is it takes a while for my hair to actually absorb product. Whereas on the other hand, people with high porosity, they will go through and their hair just absorbs it right up. You don't see a lot of white on their hair. You don't get a lot of residue. It doesn't do a lot of flaking and building up. That is high porosity. So get your pen and paper, write down which one you identified as low or high, and then we're gonna move on to question number 3. We're gonna start thinking about how long it takes your hair to dry. So, does it take your hair a very long time to dry? Like, you can do some rod sets or something, and it can take your hair like a whole full 24 hours to dry, or you can sit under the dryer and you need to sit on the dryer for like 3 or 4 hours and your hair might still be damp. Does it take a long time for your hair to dry? Or on the other hand, does your hair dry pretty quick? You can sit under the dryer for an hour, or you can do a wash and go. Your hair is typically dry within a few hours. Or think about even like right when you're deep conditioning or you're going through and applying products in your hair. Does your hair dry up? Like when by the time you're finished with that one side, the first side that you started with, does that hair dry up? So if your hair takes a very, very long time to dry and you can sit under the dryer for a while and it still takes a long time to dry, then you're probably low porosity, because again, that cuticle is tightly shut and the moisture in the air is just not drying out. Once you get that moisture locked in, or once you get that product locked in, it's like locked in there. That is probably low porosity. On the other hand, if you are high porosity, then your hair tends to typically dry quicker because the cuticles, they're open. So that means air is absorbing as well as the product, so your hair dries quicker. Again, remember high porosity, I said your hair absorbs moisture very well, but it also escapes really fast because your hair is, the cuticles, I cannot talk, because the cuticles are open. So that's question number, I think, 3, and we're gonna move on to 4. Question number 4, we're gonna talk about how long your hair retains moisture. So think about when, I know it's hard, if you're watching this video, you're probably struggling with moisture, but think about those awesome hair weeks where your hair actually obtained moisture. Your hair felt really, really good. So once you actually obtain moisture, does your moisture tend to last you for a while? Like once you get a good thing going, you're good for like 3, 4, 5 days, a week, maybe longer? Or on the other hand, it'll be all soft and nice and fluffy, and then by the end of the day, it's just like dried out. Or you just absolutely, no matter what you do, even with your favorite products, your moisture does not last longer than a day. So does your hair, once it actually absorbs moisture and gets moisturized, does it last for a while? Or does it tend to, you know, it starts off really moisturized, but it dries out really, really quick? If your hair tends to hold on to moisture once you actually attain it, then you're probably low porosity. Whereas on the other hand, I'm tired of saying other hand, but on the other hand, if your hair absorbs moisture and you can get it really soft, but by the end of the day or by the next day or by the morning, it's just completely dried out, it's stiff, it's not doing nothing for you, then you're probably high porosity. And this one's a little tricky because again, I'm asking you guys to think about when you actually have had good hair days and your hair has actually obtained moisture, like your hair felt really good and hydrated at the end of your wash day. Some of that has to do with the fact that you're not moisturizing properly. I'm going to give you guys some tips at the end of this on how to actually cater to different porosities, but that one's kind of iffy. But again, go ahead, write your answer down. If your hair holds moisture for days, low. Then if your hair absorbs moisture but it dries out really quick, no matter how soft and oily and great it felt the day before, then it's probably high porosity. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the last question. The last question has to do with oils. So think about your experiences with oils. Do you like typically tend to shy away from oils because it like makes your hair hard, or it gets really oily and greasy and just kind of like oil is just, it's just not for you. It doesn't really make or break your moisture routine. You could really go through, once you get a good product, and apply your cream, your moisturizer, and you really don't have to apply oil afterwards to get moisture. Or, I don't want to say on the other hand. What's another word for the other hand? On the contrary, does your hair actually love oil? Like, you just cannot get moisturized without having oil incorporated after your moisturizer or at the end. Like, you just absolutely have to include oil in your moisture routine. If your hair can normally do without oil, or oil does not make or break your wash day routine or your moisturizing routine, you're probably low porosity. Whereas if oil isn't essential, then you're probably high porosity. And the reason why I wanted to include that one, because the thing about mastering high porosity, I feel like there's so many videos on low porosity, but the thing about mastering high porosity is finding the right layer of products to moisturize and then trap in that moisture so that it's not escaping. Something to just seal those cuticles, fill in those gaps so that your hair is lasting for a while. So if your hair, again, tends to just blah, you're not really pressed about oils, then you're probably low. But if you are like an oil person, you gotta have some oil in there to seal your moisture in, then you're probably high porosity. So as far as tips, really the key to getting your moisture routine down pat is learning how to layer your products. So it's probably about 75% knowing how to layer them and 25% the actual product. It is important to know what kind of ingredients your hair likes. My hair typically likes lightweight moisturizers like honey, avocado, things my hair does not like. My hair does not like olive oil, and my hair does not like actual butters, like actual, like, what are they called? Like, you know, like the raw butters, like those hard butters where you stick your finger in it and it's hard. My hair does not like that. So as far as layering products, most people are familiar, but if you're not, there's something called the LOC method or the lock method, which is leave-in oil cream. There are different variations of that. I don't do LOCO, I do LCO, or I do in the summer months, like it's getting hot outside, I'm not really putting oil on my hair. So you can do like LCO or LO, and that's for my low porosity hair. I identify as low porosity most times, and the reason why I say most times is because I color my hair, and when you color your hair, that can alter your porosity. Color is very damaging to hair. As you guys see, I've been posting a lot of videos about me growing my color out, actually. So I think that's all I want to say about porosity. If you guys want me to do a detailed video on like actual layering and different, I don't know, like ways to layer, like I know I was just throwing out the letters, but if you guys want me to actually do a video on layering hair, let me know in the comments. Also give me some questions so how I can explain it better to you guys, because you know, the more questions you guys ask, the more it helps me better explain. So that is it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Turn those notification bells on, and I will see you guys in the comments. Bye!